The television screen is the retina of the mind's eye. Therefore, the television screen is part of the physical structure of the brain. Therefore, whatever appears on the television screen emerges as raw experience for those who watch it. Therefore, television is reality. And reality is less than television.
Gold Rush Highway. The grind of the rubber to the roughest asphalt to the searing heat, to your heart that beats with every curving turn of the road, that piles itself worn and torn along the white line fevers of your festering rest stops. It clunkety clunks her last breath, wheezing for you to give resuscitation for her old valves and pipes, your accidental car. I remember back when there were these fine little roadside stops where the panhandle back roads looked north of the mother road, west. You could stop and rest your butt on soft laurels of the red Naugahyde fake leather seating and sip a hot coffee, waiting for the ringing of the road to fall out of your head. That was back in the 60s when traveling was a thing to behold, a thing to nurture for hopes and dreams of going to California and making it big in the drug-addled state of movie dreams, beach surfing babes, and creamy music. This was the fancy, where all you had were melodies jumping around looking for those juicy lyrics that would turn your wonderment into California gold. But first you had to travel the craggy roads through 4 states. There are many visions that you get when you're out there alone, by yourself with your 1963 Chevy Impala with a bit of with the bite of a cherry apple bomber exhaust and 458 cylinder overcams, 4 on the floor, hyped up hiker jets, oversized wheels, says to you, I need some water. I need some water. Right outside of the Holbert, New Mexico, I looked deep down the black stripe of hot white blacktop that bleeds into the background of the flat-edged mesas. I could hear screams of birds or soft echoes of thunder boomers going off. Because, after all, they were always testing planes for speed back then. But the main task at hand were the alarms, orange, worn-out red tinges of lighted pools, speaking in chumping bleeps, flashing ignorantly across the panel. Not the kind you have today, but the little lights flashing and the sounds muffled by the engine noise, gently sputtering till everything goes dead. Then the steam comes, rising out of the hood, holding back for its lift and kamikaze surprises. Oh, I carried enough water in jugs across the desert, just like my father. You must keep that engine cool as you would yourself, he often said. The road is the deliberate incarnation of having oneself replicated. That's confusing. What were you saying again? Like a reptile's scales, you must see yourself in the road before the eye squints into itself, that you squeeze every drop of sweat that play itself against your brow. He was always playing with the poetics, not much for the words, but for the word play. I was oftentimes in awe of him just for the words or the wheels. After becoming Texan, you become a storyteller and you gain bragging rights. But my dad did not have to brag that he owned 16 cars that traveled the states and countered up enough wheel time to the moon and back for 3 Apollo missions. But then there was the times crossing the wide mother roads, coming from Oregon, my birthplace, to Texas, whereby the heat even got to him and his road. We had the flat. Now this is not a normal flat. This is considered a humdinger of all flats, the kind that launches your hubcaps 50 yards into the desert floor. The kind of flat that rolls rubber over itself like a Jabba the Hutt. Sluggishly, body piles itself over and over onto oneself, finally squishing its remaining original black ooze just in time to miss a sacred jackalope's dance and to touch down on their original origins. This flat swerved and sputtered into the asphalt ground sand in the middle of New Mexico's blacktop. My dad drove into the impeding curve like a well-finessed Baja racer, missing other cars and mostly cacti. There were we three boys, happily playing, jumping, and jiving, rolling all over the back of the 50s yellow Plymouth station wagon. You know, those kind with a real drop-down tailgate and the auto window pull-down? No seat belts, no air conditioning. Then the coward dust stopped and the winds pull up on the last breath to remind you that you're in the middle of nowhere, just as the drips on the canvas water bags slip into the comfortable wait-and-sees and trying to keep your engine cool. The heat glazes you over, looking for stagnant air to chum up to. For the next few hours, that has left us stranded in the outback of America. There were no AAA rescues back then, but we did have a family, and my mother made it into a tailgate party, 50s style, while my older brothers and Dad pulled the spare out of the deep gulch of the station wagon's trunk. We ate sandwiches and looked for hubcaps. This is the kind of heat that reminds you of the heat that you once knew on other highways. I had no tailgate, thus no party. I was on the road for a futile reason. I was looking for my own American pie. Also, being on the schedule with the armed services, you must get that car into the state that breeds cars, and breathes cars like Aqualung of highways. There's always a demand for time, for cars, energy, and the self-sustaining prophetic statements. Why we must demand mobility. But California was a place you ought to be, so you loaded up the car and dreamt of Beverly. Timing and being were two different demands, while pulling the hood and raging on the hard turn gates and hoses. The steam bellows out with the water scalding your bare hands like a man-o'-war jellyfish steams. More guzzle per the mile. Next stop, Yuma. Your tires, as with young feet, believe there is no stopping. Lucky the road never sleeps. It keeps going like energetic bunnies and saguaro cactus and reaching for the gods. There is something spiritual about the desert road and the amount of time that you spend on it. You never tire of the heat or the wind in your hair, or even the places that stop for the bizarre road sign skulking at you for its own attention. People of the desert are lucky in that sense, being able to get up in the morning and do the Sandy awakening and dreaming early morning drive-by. Yuma comes out of the desert like night vista bombing raids at Baghdad City. Neon lights have their own effect on the rugged, crusty skate as you turn your high beams up and down, doing the midnight run and dancing with the oncoming drivers. You know this is the settling place for your heart, and it lays down and it burns off. I woke at sunrise outside the motor lodge to go on a walk to climb and wind a warm, sandy loam mound, standing slopes of adobe hills with faces punched out. Eyes beckon you to the birds who scratch the holes in the homes there. The facades pulling side to side and back again, smiling at you and yawning, wishing you a safe journey, or just laughing at you, knowing you've been lucky to get this far. I took a dip in the heated pool, rested my trusty anvil foot to ensure a perfect 85 miles per hour, although the Impala was capable of a stated 125 miles per hour. Sleeping was not to be trusted while driving alone in this worn-torn touring vehicle. These were the days when you are young enough to have the 8-hour crossing land ship that got you here to the easy rider discoveries and destinations. No pullovers and no temptations for the slots and the hots of the strip at the Las Vegas. There was no time, no dinero for this time across. But just as you do get somewhere you want to be, and you are at the end of the journey, there is this inevitable wheel stopper, the highway patrol. This, as you have just spent $400 on a set of new tires in an old car. They had your tire taxes. Now they want to tax your mind. You're going 15 over the limit, sir. I had realized that all along, just trying to keep the engine cool and my forehead from burning like a hot hood. Okay, there is a warning. Burning like the hood. Okay, here's the warning. The California Highway Patrolmen are the fastest, toughest, and the kinder to the older cars with new tires and out of the current era plates. There is a stark realization once you pass through the jugular of highways and waterways to get into the vast growing networks of mass plants and canal systems, which is California. The desert suddenly stops and the world of nothingness becomes the go crop. The once flat plains of just highways and dotted with cactus and roughness and beaming white red sand now comes into itself a plantation of Eve's jungle. The green and the street meet. They meld like a hot tuna sandwich. You can't tell where the road is going to pass into some beautiful, bountiful strawberry ranch or avocado plain. Your eyes are wandering side to side in an ever faster rate to catch some luscious picture of a favorite food group. What will be next? Then slowly the dales come to the golden hills and the grasslands where the Golden Coast gets its name. It calls to you as the thousand windmills turn at high pitch, lopping off the words to the sea, grabbing for the last breath of energy for future unknown generations. You answer quite slowly, and then the frame of the movie that you were watching in your personal projection system starts to smell. What is it? The gentle green story that once was alive with plains and plains of growing crops now becomes brown with the golden brown, and the rushing highway is splitting into 4s and 6s and 8s. Markers to large green exit signs and Turner here, lights flashing there, signs and more cars and rushing and going as the green blush is now trapped by pampa grass as high as tunnel grates on a tanker ship. The magnolias blow at high speed as more and more cars rush to nowhere and get there even faster. A passion for skilled drivers comes into play as you pass the Palm Springs exit. You're now in California, the home of the existentialist Gestalt-ian driving system, whereby pure, adulterated status of car and wheel becomes your mind and your drive. To avoid becoming shark spittle or exhaust of OJ's long drive time, you're in the Navy now. No, you're in the driving now. You better learn to deal with it, because this is the place where they shoot you for not becoming a better driver by nightfall. Because remember, if you live in the valley, you're 2 hours from the studios and beaches, and no one is late for either. So a driver you must become. As the brown smog hits your nose and your eyes are overcome by tears and fears of the city of LA, you are very quickly becoming one of your wheels and visage of dreams. Ever the most wanting to continue to glide with the best and never let down, or to get out of the car that brought you here or will take you out there. Car door slams are never heard on quiet suburbs of this city because people are kinder to their cars here. They build them great garages. They house them. They wash them. They are salty, smoggy brine and care for them even after death. No, you're here in the city, that Motor City Detroit built for you and your wheels. Much like the wheels that turn in your mind, they do also for your pedal to keep pace and to keep into the place for the vinyl settlements and their reassurance. But most know you can't tire in your own. You keep on turning and burning your new highways. The swish and the pans of the fiery blurs of the speeding cars that whoosh by you ever so faster and faster, coming closer and closer, sucking you into the river's edge of the metal crunching time. It gives you notice that there is only so much wind between the sharp chrome lights and the sunglasses as another drip of the salty tears hits the pavement where your car has broken down by the side of the road.